Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. Gonna wait for everybody to join on for this live. If anybody joins on, I've been going back and forth. What am I going to do? I actually, after 360 plus days of doing these live series, I was like, I want to make sure that I'm very intentional about how I am operating with this channel, that everything that I do continues to be in support of the natural laws, to be in support of God's sovereign freedom, to be in support of people aligning within themselves. So, just gonna see if people are gonna join in here. Hello, hello, anybody there? Let's see who joins on. Let me make sure. Are you here? Hello, Kiana here. Today we're talking about trauma. Oliver's here. Okay, Oliver, hello. Today we're talking about trauma and thoughts. This is part 2 in a 10-part series that is specific to trauma and giving people a different perspective of trauma, because a lot of times people think their trauma is something they have to bring with them throughout their lives, which they really don't. But they do bring it with them wherever they go because they haven't healed it. So this is all about becoming your own healer. Oh, South African boys, hello, yes. I thought we had lost you after our last conversation. He said you went on vacation. But yes, he was very nice, and he also got some specific lessons to learn. So glad to see you. How are you doing? I actually saw the same name, the picture is the same, so I thought maybe I was getting played. You were in Australia, he said, yeah. I did an exchange program in college in Australia. What part were you in? What part of Australia? It's not too late to learn your lessons. All right, well, today we're talking about thoughts and trauma. I'm just gonna wait the 5 minutes for people to join on here and go from there. Sydney, okay. I saw the Opera House and all of that. Yep, I stayed with a family in Sydney, and then I took a flight to Perth. And then I went to Fiji and New Zealand. So I did a lot of travel in college. Hello, hello. Sing a song, please. Every word I speak is a song. Can't you tell? I'm a ghost. Hello. Good to see you. So today we're talking about thoughts and trauma. And my goal with this video is to give you a different perspective on your thinking, because our thinking becomes form. So everything in the unmanifest becomes manifested. So thoughts become form. So we want to be very conscious and aware of our thinking. And our thinking doesn't always have to be the way it is, but oftentimes it goes undisciplined. A lot of people have just an undisciplined mind, and that could be really wreak havoc on your life. And when you have a trauma that is unhealed, that creates a vulnerability in your field, which makes your thoughts more crazy. They could be crazy. Let's just be honest. I don't have a role model. That's an interesting question. I don't think I have a role model. I'd have to think about that. I don't know. I don't have a role model. I have people that I admire and respect, mostly people who are very balanced and you know, they're not actually, one person is not balanced. She's just so unhinged and totally her authentic self And I absolutely love that. But I don't have a role model. So I'll have to say that does not apply to me. I just admire and respect people who are authentically themselves. So anyways, last year I did this Being in Sync 366 video series where I came on for over 300 days, probably 300 and what did I did 366 videos, but I think I did 363 days or something like that. So I did a lot of videos last year. So this series is going to be specific to trauma. And this is going to be a 10-part series. How frequently I'm coming on to do the series, I have not determined yet. So if you have a recommendation, you let me know. But today we're talking about thoughts and trauma. And so one of the things about energy psychology is that, that's what I do. Everything runs in patterns. So we have physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. You hear me say that all the time. But when we are talking about your mind, there is like a whole mind grid. And most people do not have mental discipline. So one of the things that happens when you have trauma is that the traumas create a vulnerability, and anything that is a vulnerability allows something nefarious to play in your energy field. So that's why it's so advantageous to actually heal your traumas. Now, traditional therapy is talk therapy. Energy psychology is not that. It is not that. You don't go into your stories or your narratives unless it serves a specific purpose, which is expanding your consciousness. So that's how I do it. I don't know anybody in the energy world who really indulges in stories unless it's to hook you in through a nefarious way. Always the story should serve a purpose in expanding consciousness. So I don't need to know how you got trauma. All I need to know is that there's trauma. And I could pick that up in the first session. But we're not talking about healing all of your traumas. Right now we're talking about the correlation between trauma and thought. And the biggest aspect that you need to understand is if you have a trauma that's unhealed, that means that you could have a vulnerability in your thinking. And that allows for other energies to nefariously get in and work within your energy field without you even having conscious awareness. And you might say, well, how does that happen? And it happens through your lack of healing. So just because you go to therapy doesn't actually mean you heal. We would like to think we're on the path to healing, but healing only occurs when you have a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual alignment within the patterns that creates congruency, that allows your heart to heal and expand into higher levels of consciousness. So that's like the basics. So now let's talk about the patterns of thoughts that happen within and associated to trauma. So you're going to have pain pattern thoughts, okay? So you might think, oh, you had an event, but it's not about an event. It's about the patterns that are created from an event, okay? So you want to address painful patterns. That's what I do with my clients. You want to address the timelines, because often when we have an event, it's going to address many specific ways in the timeline, in the field of time. And you might think, oh, well, what does that mean, time? There are timelines, and often within timelines, there are folds, bends, stamps, all kinds of craziness that happens within trauma and our thoughts. So when we're healing our mind, we want to address timelines. Now, one thing about thoughts that I think most people miss is that if you're thinking that thought and you have a conscious awareness that you have that thought, that means that you can also have a conscious choice to choose a different thought and choose a different perspective. So let's just say that you see everything is happening to you and this is tragic and it's doom and gloom and it hurts and nothing works in my favor. Okay, that is a perspective. When you have that perspective, I don't know why my nose just started to run, so hold on. I need to get a tissue. So sorry for that. Sometimes when I do these lives, my nose just starts to run. Okay, so when you have a thought or a perspective that things are doom and gloom, you don't want to go into this whole thing of positive thinking. You want to consciously choose. So a lot of times people are going into these mantras of positive thinking, which can be helpful, but not as helpful as consciously choosing to see that this perspective that you have about this particular situation or this particular person needs to be adjusted. Once you have that perspective that, my perspective is not very great, and I could choose a different way of looking at this. So for example, I had some friends that did some stupid things, and they're no longer my friends anymore. They're just people in my life. In fact, they were fake friends. So they weren't really my friends in the get-go, but they're, you know what I'm talking about. I know you know. Anyways, so I was thinking about it, and it just kind of, even though I do this work every day, it still bothered me. And so I needed to change my perspective about them. Did I learn all my lessons from them? Yeah. But did I forgive myself for allowing them to be in my life in the way that they were in my life? No. So I had to forgive myself. So that was the piece that was hooking me in to them in a not so good way. So one, you want to do your own work. It's one thing to be a healer and help others, but if you're not doing your work, there's zero integrity. So I'm living life just like you all and helping you all as I'm helping myself. We all evolve and grow and change together. Now, you have to choose your new perspective. I chose forgiveness. Can you choose forgiveness? Yes. When you choose forgiveness, will that change the frequency? 100%. Now, next level perspective is to be grateful that that trauma, that situation, those people came into your life. That's like next level healing. But you have to choose it. So once you have a perception of woe is me, or oh, I wish this didn't happen, or oh, this is so negative, when you choose to get and learn, you will grow and expand exponentially. Okay? So that's one thing. The other thing, I was just looking at how I address this. When you're having a resistance to changing your perspective, that is often an experience that is happening at a soul level. Now, most people are not consciously aware that they have a soul. So please know that if you're human and not a bot, you have a soul. And if you have a soul and you're not connected to the soul, you might not even be aware that when you're having resistance, that there's a soul resistance. Sometimes the soul resistance is a lack of a connection to your higher levels of consciousness, which, by the way, is why I'm doing this really cool program. I think I'm going to either do it this month or next month on soul lessons. It's going to be a 3-part series. So if you're interested, send me a direct message and I will get you the information, because it's going to be a small group, and I'm going to have to create a waiting list. I'm sure of it. So if you want in, you are in the know now, because I haven't even really announced it. Okay, so soul resistance is going to happen when you haven't actually heard or learned your soul lessons. If you haven't learned your soul lessons, what happens is you keep repeating the patterns. When the patterns have not been resolved, it leaves another vulnerability and it leaves a gap, and therefore, again, your thoughts can be infiltrated. Now, a lot of people think that their thoughts are their own thoughts, But I'm here to tell you that there is something called synthetic telepathy. So that means how you are thinking is not always your own. You see, the field is wide and it's vast, and if you don't understand your energy field, it can be infiltrated, and your thoughts that you're thinking, that you think are your own, might not even be your own. How do you know? You will know through the pattern recognition. If you have not done enough work on your own self to have conscious awareness of how your thoughts think, how you think normally, then you'll be easily infiltrated. But it'll happen to the best of us that you'll be thinking something and you'll be like, that's a weird thought. And you'll think it, but you won't disassociate with it. And because you don't disclaim it or disidentify with it, it then makes a home in your mind, and it burrows like a parasite in your mind. And so therefore your thoughts will be more erratic. Now, getting your thoughts in alignment from a trauma is a practice. It's not going to happen overnight. You need to learn new practices on how to, number one, command your energy field, command your space, and command your body. A lack of conscious knowing to do that will leave you vulnerable, okay? So that's one thing. Oftentimes people with trauma have a lack of stability, meaning that their thoughts get entangled, mixed up, and confused. So that is not because of a trauma, it's that the trauma happens and then the lack of healing occurs, the infiltration happens, and then you have what you have. So I guess the biggest message I would have for you about this is know that you're not alone and know that it can be done. You can disentangle from these erratic thoughts, but it takes consciousness. You can't do it with just awareness. You can't do it with just affirmations. You can't do it without learning. So if you know those things, then you're already on the path. Okay, so let me see what else we got here. Another way that trauma infiltrates your thinking is through these subconscious, memories and patterns that are undercurrents that are running without your awareness. So let's just say you are very conscious and aware, but you don't know what you don't know. And so those are also running underneath, which is why it's helpful to work with somebody who's astute in being like a detective of your mind. Here is one that is almost universal that most people don't talk about when it comes to trauma and thoughts, and it's this: an inner hate. That inner hate that you have for yourself, that unacknowledgement of true love for the self, the misalignments within, drives even greater vulnerabilities. And it could be quite tragic. So, when they say you got to love yourself to heal, it's true. Love is the winner of all healing. But if you have inner hate and it goes unacknowledged, it creates a separation within, and it makes you think that you need to protect your heart. That's how you know you have inner hate. You feel like you have to protect your heart. And your heart, you want to use discernment, but you don't want to protect it because it's the ultimate healer of the path that you need to go on to expanding consciousness. So let me see. Did I miss anything big here? Any questions? Let me see what you guys have for questions. Hey, Luchu, good to see you here. I'm just going to see what you guys are saying here. There's not a lot of us on here, so we could talk deeply about trauma. I love humanity, AD. I think it's not about creating separation, but understanding that it's not about Palestine or Israel. It's about we need to be humanitarians. So if you're asking me to pick a side, I say hell no. I'm not picking a side. I'm on the side of humanity. Okay? Hi, Connor. Good to see you here. M Channel says I speak like a psychologist. You know what's so crazy is that people automatically assign trauma with a therapist. I speak like an educated person. If you think that only psychologists can speak educationally and intellectually, you are misguided. Hello, College Views. All right, mechanical engineering. Good for you. Richard is saying, given how influential media is, how do we... Facts are interpretations of perception. So there's that. Chicken on my biscuits says, vulnerabilities always got me abused by my ex. Well, you need to use discernment, Chicken Biscuits. You need to use discernment. If you have a lack of discernment and you don't realize that people are unsafe, you will be vulnerable with people who aren't safe to be vulnerable with. M. Chanel is saying traditional therapy. I don't know what you're talking about there. I don't know what CGT is. I'm not doing therapy. I do energy psychology, which is the alignment within physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It's about being congruent within your heart in alignment to the natural laws, which is God, which is guides all principles of how energy works. God consciousness, unity consciousness. Hi, powerful sun. Good to see you. Hello, Money Man. Thank you. Good to see you. Hello, Costa Rica. Aaron, good to see you here. Raj is saying, hi, Kiana, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Raj. Energy psychology. I really want to. You can. Phil is saying, how do I quit fears in my heart? They are running my subconscious. Okay, so fears, what I would say, Phil, is that, first of all, fear has been used against humanity as a weapon. Okay, so when we understand that fear is a weapon, we need to look, there we go. All right, so when we have a fear, we want to look at the fear with critical thinking. Otherwise, what it's doing is it's hijacking your attention. And whatever you feed what you want to grow. When your attention has been hijacked, which is a lot of what's happening with people's thoughts, then we go down a rabbit hole. So Phil, what I would say is what needs to be healed within your heart. And then you don't have to have the fears. The fears are serving a purpose, number one, for warfare. Number two, to keep your heart closed. There are energies out there, entities, people that want people operating without their heart. Because when you're not using your heart as you're directing your consciousness, you can be misled easily and manipulated. When you are manipulated, your soul can be accessed. That's why consciousness is so important. Your soul lessons, your soul healing, your heart healing is not just a thing, it is critical to your consciousness. So how do you know that your fears are there? You start looking for, what am I afraid of? You go looking and you use critical thinking to address your fears. You got to find a process. My process may not work for you. So what I would say, Phil, is find a process to address your fears. And if you implement a practice to address your fears every single day, guess what will happen? They'll go away, because fears are false views of reality. It's a perception that you're holding that is misguided. So it's not real. but you think it's real. So this is telling you that your thoughts are lying to you. Your thoughts will lie. Your ego mind will lie, and you will believe the lie because you didn't challenge your thoughts. So, what do you think about that, Phil? Are they running your subconscious? There are patterns running your subconscious. So I would look at it like that. There are patterns that are running your subconscious that will need to be addressed. So that's, most people are struggling with just having awareness of their conscious patterns, Phil, but you're going deeper. So this tells me you've been on this journey and you're ready to heal. So if you're interested, go check out my website and see if you resonate with what I'm doing. Hey, Liz, Happy New Year. Trevor, Happy New Year to you. Lei Chu, Happy New Year. I know I'm talking fast. I got to stop. I got to slow down my chat. But if you have questions I want to hear, Ian is saying, how do we reach out children not to trauma bond with work streams, only their past with their awareness? Okay, I don't think I understand the question. How do we reach children to not trauma bond them? Is that the question? I don't really... Well, the way that you don't trauma bond is you heal your traumas. That's how you heal that. So if you want to help children who have been traumatized, have trauma, which there are plenty of them, there's a lot of walking people who have traumas, then heal your own trauma. Then you don't have to bond with them over trauma. You can hold the space of healing, because healing is the potential that all children need, because they are not their trauma. That is not who they are. And guess what? Your trauma isn't who you are either. So people have made their traumas part of their identity. That is part of the wrong thinking. That's deep. That is deep, y'all. I'm going to change my lighting here. Okay. Liz, good to see you. Raj, how to dig down to the heart. Do I do meditation and breathing, but still unable to separate my heart and mind? You do not want to separate your heart and mind, Raj. What you want to do is ask your higher self and your God self, connect with them totally and fully before you do your meditation. Then do your breathing with your conscious attention on your heart. And what you want to do is rewire your brain, which is easy when you're working with somebody, but harder on your own, but you could still do it. And what you want to do is defer your heart to lead the path. So you want to ask to have your brain rewired so your heart leads the path. And that is going to require you practice heart-based decision making. And then you will be there. Liz, so good to see you here. Thank you for your support. Muscle therapy, hello, hello. Happy New Year. What do you say to someone who is taking meds and isn't open to hearing other perspectives? Well, sometimes you don't need to say anything, and people just need a space to be and to be accepted. And I think accepting others is the first step to healing and for them to heal. And so a practice that you can start to do is just to be present within your heart, and don't judge others who are taking medicine or who you think don't want to hear other perspectives. That may be true, it may not. But you can ask that person, do you want my thoughts? Do you want my opinions? Do you want a suggestion? How can I support you? So those might be ways that you can support somebody else. And more often than not, what I will say is that most people who are in hyper state of trauma expression or hyper states of emotional instability is that creating a space of neutrality where they can just be acknowledged for being human, for having pain, for not knowing what to do, for feeling lost. It's happening a lot. It's going to happen more. The energies of 2025, and I don't like to talk about, doom and gloom, but I will tell you this: if you have not worked on your inner congruence, if you have gotten not created your house of Christ within, your Christ consciousness, your higher self, your God consciousness, whatever language works for you, if you have not created that within yourself, it's going to make you more vulnerable to these heightened states of irrational ways of being. It's going to create an instability. And the fear mongering, the fear is only going to be amped up. This year, what's going to happen is going to be a strategy to basically make people feel like they can't take anymore. It's going to create a fracturing for many people. Don't let that be you. Learn how to create stability within. Learn how to manage your fears. Learn how to see your fears are fears and they're not real. Learn that other people outside yourself don't know better for you. They don't always know better. So muscle therapy, even though that you think that they're irrational, you may not know what's best for them because you don't know what their soul journey is. Okay, that's that. Know that feeling. Jonathan, congratulations. Been sober for 10 years. Congratulations. That's beautiful. I'm so proud of you. I know that's a journey in and of itself. Congratulations. Hi, JC. Happy New Year. Love it. Jonathan says it sounds like an ADHD friend. ADHD is, again, a misidentification of the personality. People have made that part of who they are, part of their personality. It's not. These diagnoses are not who you are. You are not a diagnosis. You are a child of the Most High God, source energy, creator, whatever it is that you believe, source. This is not a religious channel. This is about your personal connection to your heart. And those identifications are not who you are. So if somebody says you're an ADHD, say that's not who I am. That's maybe how I express sometimes, but that's not who I am. But you see people identify with their anxieties, they identify with their depression, they identify with things that are not who they are, and they make it part of their identity, which makes it even more difficult to get out of that pattern. Identification is a pattern, okay? I feel like I was shouting at you. I'm so sorry. I just hate when I see that. Okay, Jonathan is saying, I do believe that half of that, my parents were divorced, and I've been with my girlfriend for over 15 years, but still have not gotten married because of fear of divorce. I think that might be an easier fix than you think. You might just be using fear as a reason to not get hooked into a system that we call marriage here in the United States. But it sounds like you found a woman who loves you for you, and maybe having a government agency ordain your relationship is exactly what is keeping you guys together. So Jonathan, I'm not going to say that you're in fear about divorce at all. I'm going to say you're actually listening to your inner wisdom, knowing that you don't need an outside entity to ordain your relationship that is fulfilling. So I'm going to say congratulations again. You don't have to have a government agency say you are married and then have to deal with the burden of this agency actually entangling in your relationship. No. And make it a business so you could be taxed. There you go. I think you're listening to your inner wisdom, Jonathan. I'm going to disagree with you. What do you say about that? Now, that doesn't mean you don't have other fears, Jonathan, which I think I could help you with, but I think you've been socially ingrained to think that you need to do that. Hi, Sanil. Happy New Year to you. Sister, I will subscribe if you said my name correctly. You know what? I can't guarantee that. I have screwed up so many names here, and so sorry. Make your name easier to read. Money Man, I wish you a Happy New Year, and I have a question. All I do is work because I transitioned to being a freelancer, and sometimes I feel like kind of empty, although I am achieving my goals. That's the system. What is the question? What's the question? It means that your goals are meaningless, is what I would say. You don't have meaningful, heartfelt goals. And what you're learning is that money is not going to make you happy. It doesn't bring you the joy that you've been told it will. So your goal is to earn more money, but that's not meaningful to you. So how can you make your job more meaningful for you? That's the question, the Money Man. That's the question to answer. So any questions about trauma and thoughts? That's the topic today. Questions about trauma and thoughts. What else do you guys need to know? Toxic streams are also a very a strong pattern within trauma. So it means that people that's the trauma bonding. It's a toxic stream. It's almost like having an illness in your thoughts. And obviously, when your thoughts become formed, you will get sick. So I was told early on and reminded of it recently that all illnesses comes from the mind. Friends of Vlog, it looks like you need to talk to Money Man. Money Man is making more money and not happy. So y'all need to figure out how to bring meaning to your goals. And then you will be happier and more fulfilled. And so Money Man, what I would suggest is maybe your soul has a bigger purpose. Okay, well, I don't see any questions here about the topic of trauma and thoughts. So I'm just going to see one more time. Is there any questions about the topic of today, which is part 2 in a 10-part series about trauma and thoughts? This would be repeating thoughts. This would be patterns of thoughts. This would be that. So if there's no other thoughts or questions, I will say this, that thought forms create what's called viruses, and those things make you sick. So get your thinking correct. You want to have right thinking. That means you want your thinking to be in alignment, and when that happens, you will have a much easier way of living. My name is Kiana Sage. I am doing this video to answer the call for somebody who asked for a whole series on trauma. And I haven't seen her here, but if you're in the comments and watching the replays, will know that I did this video with your request in mind. And I will continue. I have 8 more videos in the series, and I will chat with you soon. Have a great day. Oh. Awakened by the Looking Glass. Oh, thank you so much, Awakened. Oh, you are welcome. Thank you for being here, and thank you for showing yourself. And please, I just did a video on generational trauma the other day. Please go look at it. please go look at that video. This is part 2. So the first one was on generational or the DNA. And I did that 2 days ago. And then today is about thoughts and trauma. All right, you all, thank you so much for your time and participation. Thank you for your comment, Awakened. I really appreciate it. Sometimes I feel like I make these videos and nobody's watching. So leave your comments if you watch the video, please. And a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm. Oops, somebody's leaving a comment. I don't want to hang up. Yes, go, Leichu, go check out part 1. Nobody, Happy New Year. Oh, you're so awesome. Nobody was watching. Happy New Year, nobody. Thanks for being here. All right. Well, I appreciate you. Happy New Year, Happy New Year. Let's make it a great year. Let's heal our hearts. Let's be strong within. And if you're interested, I am doing a small group for soul consciousness healing, and it's going to be a very powerful group, and it's going to sell out, so it's going to be small. And if you're interested, let me know. Send me a direct message. Cheers to being in sync. Bye.